enthusiastic about the prospect of implementing my specialization in rare books into practice and immediately reached out to Armen. Initially, the project was just to catalog the antiquarian early printed rare books. Then, as you heard, the project grew bigger, took a different life form, and became the purpose for which we are all gathered here today. But who is Armen Aroyan? A lot of you heard about him already or know him, but I had never heard of Armen. And during the last 18 months, working closely with you, Armen, I came to be in awe of his intellectual curiosity, his impeccable memory about each title that he acquired, including the author, the place of publication and date of publication, and his kind demeanor. Moreover, spending time with his books gave me an insight into the inner workings of this genius's mind in terms of style of book collecting. Later, my curiosity led me to read about him, and the more I read, the more I discovered the layers of the talent and the humanity that he has. I have been at the receiving end of his kindness, generosity, and modesty. He lifts people, and his keen observations come from his scientific, artistic, literary, and historical mind, which ultimately, I think, makes him a Renaissance man. For those of you who don't know, very quickly, by profession, he is an electric engineer, a maestro, a pioneer of pilgrimages, a philanthropist, a bibliophile, and a book collector. His passion for books started at a young age, influenced by his father, Albert, who was an avid reader and a book collector himself. Armen's interest in book collecting deepened during those pilgrimages that you heard about, to the small villages and the towns and the ancestral lands in historic Armenia. During more than 100 trips, he not only visited the towns or made them clean them up, but he also collected contemporary material about the local history, many of them through touristic publications, which to me is a research process, research waiting to be discovered because of how I read a little bit of them and how our history is distorted in this publication. So from the boxes to the shelves, there were over 100 boxes that I had the privilege to open, and every time there waited a treasure trove, and his books took me on an adventurous journey into the workings of his bibliographic mind and his wonderful ability to connect the dots and track down related titles in different languages, subsequent editions printed in different countries around the world. So every book on these shelves has its own personal story. Some are simple, acquired in a bookstore or at a library sale. Some more adventurous, like bidding at eBay and winning the bid. Or some are in just towns that you would never think there's an Armenian book or a book about the Armenians. Armen can tell you all the details. But they all reveal something that how Armen relentlessly follows clues in the quest of finding national treasures to enrich his collection. For example, this book, Armenian Massacres and Turkish Tyranny. This is from 1896, printed in Philadelphia. He has the same 1896 in another binding, but then he tracked down the reprint edition in 1990 in New York. But that's not all. He found the book sample, which is a shorter, kind of like a marketing preview, and that's also in the library. So, but wait, there's more. So, not only he collects different editions, he collects the book about the book. So you have here Ambassador Margento's story, first edition, reprint, and then the story behind the Ambassador Margento's story. So he creates this web that is remarkable. And there's more. He keeps Armen's meticulous record keeping with each book is extraordinary. A research project in itself, Armen has scribbled on sticky notes about provenance, receipts, mailing addresses of the entities that shipped him the book, and the names of other book collectors with whom he has exchanged. Here are some examples. But not only he's a book collector, he's a natural archivist. In many instances, and this is my favorite part, you would find a clipped article related to the book's release or review, or the author carefully tucked in. This monograph is published in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and the clip is a short description of the book in Spanish, written by Kevor Karamanukyan, and it's inside the book. Another one, for example, about Arshak Al-Voyajan, who wrote Batmagan Hayastani Sahmanera. So Armen inserted a page of the author's biography inside the book. And while I was tracking that down, he had back and forth prints. And what a coincidence, the other side says Tartmanich Neru Hishadagin. I mean, if this wasn't a coincidence that today is Kirarukut and Tarkmanjad, and it talks about Hogdempera Hai Mushagwiti Amise Meramah Tarkmanishnera Subsahaki Mesrov Yedirens Hasusaz Ashayernera. I mean, this is the richness of Armen's collection. The books are full of notes, dedications, signed copies by the authors, which underline Armen's unwavering commitment, devotion, and love of books. For this one, specifically speaks to those who have gone to pilgrimage with him. On the day he took me to Aftamar and to swim in Lake Van, a very happy day. I'm not reading the name of the person. Another thing, for example, this is the history of Venice. The sender wrote a note and said, "Dear Armen, I finally located a copy of this book. Norwich is an excellent scholar, and he is noted for his studies on Byzantium. He includes many references to Armenians and their involvement in the founding and expansion of Venice. Enjoy." I think it's signed George. Right? Okay. So how did we classify this library? Did we follow Library of Congress? Did we follow Dewey Decimal? No. Of course, Armen had to have his own categories and classifications. So we have Aroyan classification. And as you're going to see, it doesn't deviate much from subject headings, but for example, we have a qualifier that's Armenian art, Armenian music, Armenian architecture, Armenian church, Armenian village histories. This is completely his own classification. Category related to village history. Turkish books about Armenia, Ottoman history, Armeno-Turkish books. It's an ever-evolving phenomenon, and he also has subcategories. But I told him, let's stick with the big ones for now. However, by all means, that doesn't mean or indicate that this library does not contain non-Armenian titles. There is a substantial collection of, like I said, Turkish Ottoman history in Turkish and English, other titles in history, art, and architecture, encyclopedias about other cultures. So the collections in this Armen Aroyan Library Museum are extraordinary and represent a wide range of topics. There are books and pamphlets, periodicals and journals, almanacs, yearbooks, dictionaries, encyclopedias, and ephemera. The largest collections comprise the following three main areas: antiquarian books dating from 1690 to 1920. And I have to make a note here. Usually in libraries, antiquarian books stop right now at 1870. But Armen and I, we also decided, consulted with some curators, that for this particular library, we will call antiquarian 100 years from now, 100 years earlier, sorry. So from until 1920. And the reason is that so that it would include the rare publications after the genocide. And then 1920 is a very natural kind of division in the history of Armenian printing between diasporic printing and then Soviet Armenian printing. So that was our thinking behind calling all these books antiquarian from the beginning till 1920. Village and town histories of historic Armenia. This rich collection includes almost an exhaustive literature about the individual histories of villages and towns where Armenians once resided. This collection rivals the most elite academic libraries in Southern California, if not in the United States. Periodicals and almanacs comprise a variety of titles. The collection includes the complete first editions, as you will see, of Theotics, almanacs, and many rare issues. So anyone here from Hajin? Yay! Anyone from Antap? Kharpert? Okay, we have some. Pala Hovid? No one. Husseini? Husseini, okay.
My grandmother.
You will find the history of your village in this library and more. Also, there are books about pilgrimages, memoirs, and because of our history, most of our memoirs are pilgrimages and about the genocide, unfortunately. He's also has numismatics, and my favorite category is coming up, school textbooks. Who has studied Armenian with these books that bring so many memories?
Yeah, I have one of those.
He has collections of textbooks, first edition, second edition, and reprints. Boggles my mind. And the entire set of history of the Armenians, Hayat Bakun. This is a collection that we decided to enrich, so if you have any donations about textbooks, we will welcome them. And if all else failed, Armen makes photocopies. So if he couldn't find, he didn't track the book, he goes and makes a photocopy of it, puts it in a binding, and then brings it here. So the strength of the collections, as you see, is thematic and linguistic diversity. It's a treasure trove for bibliophiles, and the unique web that Armen created within each category and among categories is exceptional and phenomenal. And some people would say, why do we need libraries these days? Everything is digital, everything is online. I beg to differ, and this is a topic in my profession that's in the forefront. One shouldn't take in the place of the other. The digital and the analog should go together like train tracks. And a lot of the books in Armen's collection, like I said, they're not even in academic libraries, much less they are digitized. Whenever possible, when I found a digital version, I am linking it to the catalog, which you're gonna see right now. So this is the mission, and this library wouldn't have existed without Armen's generosity. The time he spent to collect them and then part with them. I know, Armen, this is a little difficult. You're leaving your babies here, but they're in good hands. And also, it wouldn't have existed without the church's blessing and the space and the council's approval, and with the biggest advocate being the chair of the council, Mr. Ara Asilian, like you heard, how he advocated for this to happen. Having said that, this is your library. Without your presence, without your attendance and engagement with the material, this would be a room with bookshelves. It wouldn't be a library. So Armen's vision is to create an intellectual center where a series of cultural events would bring you and non-Armenians together so we could talk, study, and research and debate. So as we close one circle today and we open another one, we invite you to be part of this library, to come in, spend time with this unique combination of collections, lose yourself in a book or a pamphlet, bring your children, grandchildren, share with them the love of our alphabet and history. But I wouldn't have said it better than Armen, who described it so eloquently, that the creation of our beautiful alphabet by Mesrop Mashdots allowed for our history to be immortalized in the written word. And the book itself, because we printed and wrote it, in turn immortalized our alphabet. Therefore, our IP and K, which were the initial 36 letters that Mesrop invented, and then Ofe came later, they're forever intertwined with the circle of our eternity sign, Haver-Shutian Nishan image. On a personal note, talking about closing circles, the fact that Professor Peter Cowie, who introduced me to Armen, is here as keynote speaker. Armen is the founder of this library, and I humbly sort of became the librarian of the library. It just makes me speechless. We're closing the circle, and it's nothing short of miraculous. But how would you access the library? So there are two different ways. Of course, you can come here during open hours and by appointment, but also you can go to the Armen's Foundation. Let's see if this is gonna work. I think I have to get out of my... Oops. So if you go to Armen's website, armen.aroyanfoundation.org, you can read about him. You can read about his foundation and philanthropic work, the church pilgrimages, events and content. But you also can access the library site from here. The mission is here, the collections. We're putting exhibitions. We're gonna, for example, do the book of the week, the book of the day, things like that. And then you can go back and then go to the catalog, the online catalog. Okay, so this is the catalog, Armen Aroyan Library Museum. You can register to be a patron and member. So we would like you to go to this page and put your contact information, and we will receive an email, and I could give you a digital barcode. You will have your own barcode. Or you can, we'd like you to do that and be on our mailing list for the cultural events. Also, you can search. If you go to the search function, for example, you would like all the Armenian books that were printed in Venice. I hope the Wi-Fi wouldn't die right now. There it is. Those are the printed books that are in Armenian and printed in Venice. You can also, for example, say, I want all the history books in English. And you can search. That way, you kind of know what's in the library and put a hold on it. And when you come, you can browse it. One note on that, because each title is unique, we don't have many copies. You cannot check out the book and take it home. So this way, we're creating a community to come here, check out the book, and stay in the library or outside. I think Ara mentioned you're gonna have some coffee or pastries here, Saturdays and Sundays, and we can sit and talk about it. So this is a special non-circulating community library. So this is your catalog. We're gonna have more information here, and there's the email there, and I urge you today to go look. Like Ara said, more titles are coming in every day, and but please register as a member so you could